Alright, so I have this Genesis 8 female character, and you can see she is holding a sword. I'm going to export this character to Blender together with an animation we will load later on this figure. We will look at improving the animation using this character in Blender and then bring the improved animation back to Daz. To start, I will go to File, Export, choose Autodesk FBX, and save the file as Genesis 8 Female. Now to load the animation, I will switch to the Animation tab. In the Animation library, I will search for Sword. Here is the animation I want, Sword, Draw, Strike. I will double-click to load it, and down in the Animate Light panel, you can see the animation loaded. When I play it, the character performs the strike. Right now, the timeline is empty, so I will return to the Animate Light panel and bake the animation to the timeline. Once that is done, going back to the timeline will show all the keyframes. I will then change the frame range to start at frame 1. Now I am going to export the animation to Blender. I will go to File, Export, change the export format to BVH BioVision, rename the file to Sword Strike, and export. With that done, I will switch over to Blender. I am using Blender 5 here. I will import the figure using the Rig GNS add-on, so I will go to my desktop folder and select the FBX file. Once it is imported, I will quickly rig the figure using the rigging buttons. I also like to switch the viewport shading to textures. Alright, the figure is fully rigged now. Before importing the animation, I want to fix the sword position. I will select the sword, press Alt-R to clear the rotation, enable the transform gizmo, switch the orientation to normal, and move the sword into the character's hand. I will do this from the front view and adjust it so it sits close to the grip. Next, to import the animation, I will start by selecting the rig, then collapse the rigging tab and expand the Animaxa tab. From there, go to Import, choose Import BVH, locate the Sword Strike BVH file on my desktop, and bring it in. Once the animation loads, I will click the Bind button to retarget it. You will notice the trousers and the sword are not following the animation yet, so to fix that, I will return to frame 1, select the rig, and unbind the animation. Then, I will select the trousers, go to the Adjustment tab, click the Parent Prop to Rig button, choose Transfer, and confirm with OK. Now when I select the rig again, click Bind, and play the animation, the trousers follow correctly. To correct the sword, I will unbind again, select the sword, click the Parent Prop to Rig button, choose the Bone option, keep the parent bone as right hand, and click OK. Now when I select the rig again, click Bind, and play the animation, the sword follows the hand correctly. Next, I will jump to the first frame, go to the Import panel, click Bake Animation, and click OK. Alright, with that done, I'll switch this timeline window to the dope sheet. I'll also bring up the side panel so we can see the keyframe channels. Again, I'll open the NLA editor as well. Now I'll go to Side View and enter Pose Mode. I want to use the hip bone to increase the distance of the jump in the animation. When I scrub through the timeline, you can see the character starts here and lands around this point. I want the jump to be bigger and more dramatic, landing somewhere around here, so I'll adjust the hip motion to achieve that. To start, in the NLA editor, I'll push the current action down into an NLA strip. Then I'll select the empty action slot above it, and in the blending dropdown, set it to Combine. Now I can begin adjusting the hip. At the start of the animation, somewhere around this frame, I'll add a keyframe by pressing I in the viewport. I'll also enable auto keying so I don't have to press I each time. Now looking at the left leg, this is the moment where the body launches forward, around frame 29. With the hip bone selected, I'll enable the transform gizmo, switch the orientation to global, and gently nudge the hip forward on the y-axis. Let's look at that. And on frame 36, just as the foot is about to land on the floor, I'll move the hip forward on Y again. Now when I play it back, you can see the jump is much bigger than before. With that adjustment done, I'll push down this action into the NLA again, then click the Bake button to bake the adjustment with the original animation. After baking, we now have a new combined action. So I'll delete the two tracks and keep the baked action. Now I'll return to frame 1 and play the animation. You can see the character now jumps higher than the original motion. Next, I want to correct the feet so they stay on the ground and not below it. With the rig selected, I'll click the Position button, press Z to lock to the Z axis, and move the mouse upward to lift the character so the feet sit properly above the green line. Playing it back now shows the figure sitting above the ground on all frames. Now I'll expand the Kinematics tab so I can make some adjustments using the IK bones of the legs. I want the IK legs to copy the FK motion. I'll start with the right leg by clicking the right leg button. Then click IK to FK for the whole animation and click OK. This takes a moment. Once that finishes, I'll repeat the same steps for the left leg. Now when I go back to frame 1 and press play, you'll see the IK legs animating correctly, just like the FK version. Now I'll fix the foot sliding. Starting with the left foot, when I scrub from frame 1, you'll notice the foot drifts instead of staying planted. I need to decide how long it should stay locked in place. It looks like it should remain planted until frame 27. So in the Kinematics tab, I'll set the start frame to 1 and the end frame to 27. Returning to frame 1 and switching to side view, I'll make sure the foot is touching the ground. Then I'll select the Toe IK control, click the Hold button, disable rotation to hold only the location on all 3 axes, and click OK. Now when I scrub now, the foot location stays locked until frame 27. Next, I'll hold the foot again when it lands. It touches the ground around frame 48, so I'll set 48 as the start frame and hold it until the end of the animation at frame 64. Returning to frame 48, I'll switch to side view, zoom in on the foot, and ensure it touches the floor. Now I will select the Toe IK control again, click Hold, disable rotation, and click OK. Alright, now you can see the left foot is properly pinned in place. Let's do the same for the right foot. I'll return to the beginning of the animation and click the X-axis widget for side view. I'll need to click that again. Now I'll scrub through to see how long the foot should stay planted. It looks like it stays on the ground until about frame 22, so I'll set the start frame to 1 and the end frame to 22. Then I'll return to frame 1 and make sure the foot is exactly on the floor. I'll select the Toe control, click Hold, choose Location Only, and press OK. Now the right foot stays fixed in place just like the left one. Next, I'll look for where the foot lands again later in the animation. It touches the ground around frame 35, so I'll set the start frame to 35 and hold it until the end of the animation at frame 64. Returning to frame 35, I'll switch to side view, make sure the foot is resting on the ground, select the Toe control again, click Hold, disable rotation, and press OK. Now when I zoom out and play from the beginning, both feet stay pinned exactly where they're supposed to. Now, going to side view, I want to adjust the hip position to add a downward motion to the animation. To do that, I'll start at frame 1 and adjust my view. In the NLA, I'll push this action down, select the empty slot above it, and change the blending to Combine. Next, I'll select the hip bone, scroll through, and decide where the dip should begin. Around frame 10, I'll press I to key the current hip pose. Then, scrubbing forward, I'll find the point where the hip dips downward, around frame 22. So I'll lower the hip a bit more. so the character dips downward and builds momentum to propel forward. Going back to the start and playing the animation, you can see it shows a much stronger launching motion. Now let's make adjustments to the left foot to match the new hip motion. I'll scrub forward to see when the foot begins to lift. It starts moving at about frame 27. I'll press I to key the current foot pose. Then I'll move to around frame 29 and drag the foot slightly backward so it returns to a natural starting position. Looks good. At frame 28, I'll nudge it a bit farther back to refine the motion. I'm okay with this result. Now I'll adjust the right foot in a similar way. Scrubbing through, at around frame 25, just before it lifts, I'll key the pose. Then around frame 30, I'll push the leg forward slightly so it looks like it's reaching out for the bigger jump we added earlier. That gives us a better sense of momentum. Next, I'll return to the hip and pose the landing a bit more correctly. Going back to around frame 35, I'll insert a keyframe for the hip. Then moving forward to roughly frame 45, I'll push the hip forward slightly so the body leans into the landing. I also want the right leg to angle forward, so I'll shift the hip a bit more in that direction. Let's see what that looks like. Because of that change, I'll also fix the left leg. Somewhere around frame 40, I'll key the current pose for the foot. Moving forward on the timeline to frame 48, I'll move the foot forward so it lines up properly for the landing. Now let's play back the animation. Okay, this looks better. I'll zoom in a bit on the dope sheet. Let me first move this foot out slightly. I'll also adjust this keyframe and move it backward to around frame 37. Let's play the animation again. Alright, I'm satisfied with this. Now I'll push down the adjustments we just made and then click the Bake button on the panel to bake those strips. With that baked, I'll delete the extra strips. Next, I'll have the FK bones for the legs copy the IK for the entire animation. Starting with the right leg, I'll click FK to IK and click OK. Then I'll do the same for the left leg. Click FK to IK and then OK. Now when I play the animation, you can see the FK bones moving exactly the same as the IK bones. The next thing I want to fix is the sword strike timing. Viewing it from the right side, and with overlays turned off, you'll notice the strike happens almost at the same time as the jump, and I want a slight delay in the sword strike. I'll turn the overlays back on, push the action down in the NLA, select the strip, and press Alt-D to duplicate it. So now this upper strip will control only the upper body. I'll press Tab in the NLA to enter tweak mode, then go to the adjustment tab. I'll disable all the lower body animation, starting with the torso by clicking the mute button, then the thighs, mute, the shins, mute that as well, then the feet, mute, and finally the toes. Now returning to the NLA and playing the animation, after selecting the lower strip and disabling it, the character stays still because the lower body animation is muted in the upper strip. When I enable it again, the lower body movement returns. Next, around frame 2, I'll select the upper strip and press Y to split it. Now the strip is divided into two. The small first strip will hold the starting pose of the upper body. I'll take the second strip and move it forward in time to create the delay, somewhere around frame 6. Playing the animation now shows the sword strike happening slightly later. Let's turn off the overlays so it's easier to see. It still might not be very noticeable, so I'll move the strip farther forward to exaggerate the delay. Now you can see the sword strike happens long after the jump, but it does not look natural. So I'll move it back to around frame 7 and play the animation again. This timing feels better. Now I'll go to the end of the animation, press Y to split off the excess part of the strip, and delete the leftover piece. I'll turn the overlays back on, click the Bake button to bake the animation for all 64 frames and click OK. With that baked, I'll delete the extra tracks. Now we have a clean animation with the delayed strike. I'll turn off the overlays again for a clearer preview of the animation. Now that the animation is refined, let's export it back to Daz. I'll click the Bake button again, but this time enable the Bake for Daz option, and then click OK. Now the animation is baked for Daz. Then I'll go to File, Export, and choose the Daz BVH option. I'll select a folder to export to, rename the file to Sword, Swing, and click Export Daz BVH. Back in Daz, with the figure still loaded, I'll go to File, Import, select the Sword Swing animation, and open it. With the settings shown, I'll click Accept. Now I'll adjust the viewport angle so we can see the full animation. Playing the animation, we can see the motion matches exactly what we had in Blender, including the delayed strike. Alright, so that brings us to the end of this lesson. I hope you found it helpful and picked up a few new tips along the way. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, drop a comment, and subscribe for more Blender and Rig GNS tutorials. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.